Yes. You're basically muted. Amber, you're muted. All right.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just repeat again. Sorry. It is requested to all attendees to adhere to the code of conduct of today's event that includes showing respect and courtesy towards each other. Insulting, degrading, and disrespectful comments and behavior are never appropriate at Creative Commons activities, and in such case, the attendee would be terminated from further participation. Be kind and engage respectfully with ideas. And if you have any questions, please use the chat box and we'll answer it. And this event is live on Facebook and is being recorded. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today, and special acknowledgement to all dignitaries as they will be talking about Creative Commons movement for open and better sharing in Pakistan and CC's impact in the world. We are here to celebrate the 20th Creative Commons anniversary with Creative Commons Pakistan chapter in collaboration with ILMA University, Pakistan, and Higher Education Commission, Government of Pakistan. Creative Commons hit the milestone. Creative Commons hit the milestone because of people and institutions and governments openly sharing content to advance knowledge, equity, and creativity for everywhere and everyone. Together with Creative Commons community and multiple partners, we build capacity and infrastructure, we develop practical solutions, and we advocate for better sharing. Sharing that is contextual, inclusive, just, equitable, reciprocal, and sustainable. So let's have a look at a clip of 20 years at Creative Commons.
Clip is not showing with is not actually giving voice. The sound is not present there.
Now, many of you would like to know that what Creative Commons is and Creative Commons Pakistan chapter and how are they making open sharing possible. So not taking much further time, moving towards our first speaker, panel speaker, Dr. Subhani. He is known for his intensive record of promoting open science, ethical initiatives, and open movements in scholarly communication. Recently, he has been elected as director for Force 11. He is lead of Creative Commons Pakistan chapter. Let's welcome Dr. Subhani. Please take the floor and please further introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amber, for introducing me. Before actually talking on the proposition of today, let me say something more about myself. I'm the Thomson Reuters Award-winning editor 2015, also serving for DOAJ to promote open science and open access scholarly communication as an ambassador. As mentioned by Amber, I've been recently elected as the director of New Force 11, also serving as a professor and dean of the school at ILMA University. And further, I am basically engaged at several societies and the forums as the members, also editing a journal +1. All right. Next slide, please. Talking on Creative Commons, what Creative Commons is. So actually, Creative Commons, when we share, it's basically an organization for sharing stuffs openly to everyone. And when we share, everyone wins. Creative Commons is a non-profit organization that helps overcome legal obstacles to the sharing of knowledge and creativity to address the world's most pressing challenges. In order to achieve our mission, Creative Commons provides CC licenses and public domain tools that for every person, every organization, every publisher, every institution in the world, a free and simple and a standardized way to grant copyright permission for creative and academic work, ensure proper attributions, and further letting others to copy, distribute, and make the use of those works itself. Creative Commons works closely with the major institutions and the governmental bodies to create, adapt, implement open license, and ensure the correct use of CC licenses and CC licensed content. We support CC Global Network, a community initiative working to increase the volume, breadth, and the quality of openly available knowledge worldwide. Creative Commons offers certificates in depth. It is basically an in-depth coursework for people interested in becoming experts in creating engaging with openly licensed work itself. Creative Commons since many years running CC Open Culture programs to support the development of a thriving open culture ecosystem among cultural heritage institutions and their users. We run open education programs as well to ensure a publicly funded knowledge, education sources, research and data for the free availability of those stuffs for everyone to learn, discover, and contribute. We produce CC Summit every year, an annual event that brings together an international group of educators, artists, technologists, legal experts, activists to promote the power of open licensing and global access. We support global open education and the GLAM communities. So this is basically our major functions since many years, I should say, since our inception. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Creative Commons believes in growing commons. We share work, we prompt users to use, remix the content through using the CC licenses. When we say we are growing commons, means we have 2 billion works, and it is being actually increased every day. Next slide. A little quick glance on the CC licenses. We have several categories of licenses as per the need of the publishers and the stakeholders. Now, CC-BY, CC-BY SA, CC-BY ND, CC-BY NC, CC-BY NC-SA, CC-BY NC-ND. These all licenses are basically designed to cater the various needs of the various publishers and stakeholders, depending on sharing, adapting, attributing non-commercial activities, non-derivative activities, and share-like activities. These basically are the content we basically promote through these licenses. Next slide, please. Now, obviously, the Creative Commons prompts countries and the whole world to educate open science and to promote CC agendas and initiatives and the movements. And in this connection, several of the countries, they have worked a lot, in fact, and they have started their own chapters. We have also just started CC Pakistan chapter. I am basically heading this chapter as a lead, along with me, Amber Smart is here as a co-lead. And we are basically requesting all the stakeholders, all the open access advocates to join us to promote the CC agendas. Under the CC Pakistan chapter, we have done several works so far, me, myself, and the co-lead of CC Pakistan chapter. For example, in 2022, CC Pakistan chapter has been selected among the top 8 selections to discover the GLAMs in the regions. And we investigated the GLAMs located in Pakistan, in specific Karachi, Sindh. And the findings of our funded research work can be actually accessed at a medium of Creative Commons. Next slide, please. The another funded project the CC Pakistan chapter has done in 2021, when the idea of CC Pakistan chapter was basically in the process of pitching. In that work, we basically investigated the possible awareness about Creative Commons and its movement and initiatives and its abilities in the higher education system of Pakistan. And the finding of this funded research work, which has been done by the newly born CC Pakistan chapter, can be accessed on Medium Creative Commons. So this is basically we have done under the platform of Creative Commons and CC Pakistan chapter so far, and we are actually willing to contribute. Yeah.
Dr. Subhani, would you like to elaborate that what's the next agenda for Creative Commons Pakistan chapter now?
Yes, actually, we are actually moving towards CC copyright platforms to pitch in Pakistan. So we'll be basically, in fact, under the from the platform of CC Pakistan chapter, we'll be requesting all of these stakeholders of scholarly communications, scholarly publishing, and the copyright, and the stakeholders connected with the copyrights. They should actually come forward, join to us, and to basically contribute for the community. Yes.
Thank you.
So yeah, this is all from my side about Creative Commons and CC Pakistan chapter and the further initiatives we are actually planning to have in future. If you have any question, please, you can drop your question in the chat box. I'll be more happy to answer those questions.
Yes, of course. Please, if you have any questions, you may mention it in the chat box and we'll definitely answer them. And coming to our next speaker is Dr. Garrett Dyke's expertise and unique capabilities actually is to teach and advise with authority on all aspects of scientific publishing process, grant writing, and personal development. He is an experienced researcher, reviewer, editor with a strong background in technical and popular writing all over the world. He is here today to share an energetic perspective when we embrace a mindset of open sharing in scholarly publishing. Dr. Garrett Dyke, please.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone's doing very well today. Can I share my screen? Is that okay? Can I just do that? Just,
yes, please.
Hang on a sec. How's it going? All right. 1 second. All right, brilliant. Great. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the invitation to do this. It's my pleasure, my honor to be here back in Pakistan again, even if it's just remotely and online. I work for Research Square Company, which is a division now of Springer Nature, one of the big publishing companies around the world. Research Square Company, as you may know, is now the largest of the preprint servers out there around the world for researchers anywhere and everywhere to be able to share their research with everybody else quickly and effectively and fast. And this is our case for preprints. You can see on the slide. In the old system, in the traditional journal publishing system, you go to a journal and you wait to get rejected or not. And then you submit to another journal and you wait to get rejected or not. And then you submit to another journal and you wait to get rejected or not. And eventually your paper gets accepted. Preprinting and incorporating Creative Commons and data sharing and open science presents everybody with a way sharing their research openly with the world quickly and getting community feedback, ideas and discussion. And so as our other panelists will talk about today, and Dr. Subhani is an expert on this, we are able, using preprint servers, to share quickly and effectively our research with everybody. And so I believe that this is a very important and very exciting, not new development, but still lots of scope for growth development in open science. And of course, it incorporates these Creative Commons licenses that we've heard about in our first presentation today. So if you have a look at researchsquare.com, if you go over to that website when you have the chance a little bit later, you'll see that when authors preprint with us, when they provide us with drafts of their research published on the preprint platform, before these drafts of research get peer reviewed, either by journals or by the open community or both, they are published using a CC BY 4.0 license, which Dr. Subhani talked about in the context of Creative Commons overall a little bit earlier on. And indeed, while he was talking, I took a screenshot of one of his slides, and you can see it here. CC BY licenses allow authors to retain copyright over their own research and share it for non-commercial purposes with other researchers all over the world. And that's one of the other fantastic aspects of open science and preprinting in general, because of course, in the traditional publishing model, the journal, the publisher would be taking the copyright. Whereas in this open preprinting ecosystem of which we are proud to be a part, the authors, the researchers retain copyright. And so if you're thinking, should I preprint? Should I publish my research in an open access journal? Should I participate in this open science movement? Well, yes, you should if you are a researcher, because this enables you to keep control of your research and, of course, to keep control of copyright. And, you know, Research Square, the preprint platform, is fully incorporated into lots of other journal peer review workflows. Springer Nature has a system called InReview. You can see some feedback on InReview on this slide. More than 60% of authors that work with us do so because they want to share their research with the community as soon as possible. And why would you not want to do that? Protected by a Creative Commons license, researchers around the world choose to preprint more and more. Although I will say that still a relatively small percentage of research overall published around the world is getting preprinted, something like 10 to 15%. So there's lots of scope for improvement. That's why we love to participate in these kinds of events. We love to work with organizations such as Creative Commons with the Pakistan chapter to encourage people to participate. And as you can see here, the volume of preprints coming out around the world since the 1990s has ballooned One of the reasons for this, of course, has been the open science movement. Another really important thing, of course, the pandemic and people's need to see and access the latest research as quickly as possible. A big increase in volumes of preprints. This graph will show you just how much we've seen in uptake and in participation in this aspect of open science over the years, and journals are now partnering more and more with preprint servers. As you can see here, we're not the only preprint server out there by any means. Another great one that I encourage you to have a look at is eLife, a great platform for community peer review, where again, preprints, of course, protected by CC licenses. So we are seeing more and more journals engaging with this aspect of open science, researchers getting to see the latest research quickly and effectively, and being able to use that research and retain ownership over that research themselves. So we are a journal integrated preprint platform. I do encourage you to learn more about us if you don't know about preprinting, if you don't know about Research Square. The Springer Nature in Review system is a core component of this open science movement now, because early sharing means that you get priority and primacy for your research much, much faster. So just some background information: about 600 odd journals now in the In Review system, partnering with Research Square, flowing research, open access research, protected by CC licenses onto the platform fast. This is open science in action. And we have a number of steps to maintain overall editorial oversight over the platform, which is summarized here. We make sure that preprints that get published are at a certain standard before they get shared with the wider community. But this is the case for doing so. And I'll say again, thank you to Dr. Subhani and to Amber Osman for the opportunity to present here today. And thank you very much for listening. And I'm looking forward to the other presentations in the series.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett Dyke. It was really a wonderful presentation, and you really had a view of the culture of science is now more open, inclusive, and more accessible with the help of Creative Commons licenses. I see we have a question here for you in the chat box if you would like to answer, Dr. Subhani and Dr. Garrett Dyke.
Dr. Subhani, do you see that question?
Yeah, I have
And-
seen the question. Shouldn't we actually, in fact, keep the questions and answer session and in the later stage, means at the end of the program?
All right, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garrett Dyke. And the next person we have here is moving to our next speaker is Dr. Ricardo Limungi, and he is here to express his perspective on the theme. So let's hear about the powerful insights he has to give about Creative Commons movement. Dr. Ricardo, could you please also give few salient details about your good self?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to discuss information access strategies. My goal in my career is dedicated to understand the performance, even in the level of customers and firms. And nowadays, especially with the incentive of Professor Subhani, try to understand better the movement of open science. I think it's a move that we can't go back. It's just important to further. In this sense, my goal here is to provide some reflections about the strategies for academics, even students yet, that we can actually try to understand how we insert the Creative Commons strategies during our research, even our lessons in other materials. In the sense, I'm particularly enthusiastic about the perspective that science advances openly and collaboratively. In this sense, Creative Commons plays a fundamental role in this process. Congratulations about the initiative to promote this much needed debate at a time of a high volume in data and studies being developed in multiple areas of knowledge. Students must be encouraged to incorporate this philosophy into their research agenda, in my opinion. Different studies are bringing a perspective of replicability, as Professor Gareth told us, even in different areas of knowledge. articles that I can have the opportunity to read in Nature and Science, for example, in others major journals, point the need to reflect on how science has been shared and validated. Whether from the perspective of replicability of the research, design, instrument, even codes used to that the communities can in fact study and replicate it. Unfortunately, it has become more common to see the difficult and the limitations of access to research process. For the reasons postgraduate programs, even here when I work in Brazil, and scientific journals seek mechanisms to publicize study and results more, even Professor Gerfer said about the research square, for example, whether through process or platforms such as OSF and others, is very important to spread this philosophy. Initiatives such as CC have proven to be fundamental at different times. I am a particular remember have more significant contact with this philosophy of the CC perspective during the pandemic, with the need to spend more time at home and the desire to continue studying, preparing for my class and advisors. I start to include the open access criterion and the adherence of professors, authors, and other knowledge producers in the filter to locate material through Creative Commons license. Therefore, researchers are encouraged by beautiful initiatives such as CC have mobilized to discuss the advancement of science through the legal sharing of materials produced to influence and change the path of science. I really believe in this path. Initiatives such as those in Pakistan chapter encourage discussion and reflection, make it possible for students, professors, and editors to encourage the research process, including alternative for science to be open and be replicable. I really think this is the goal that we need to discuss. Actually, how we can improve the science to give the opportunity to everyone try to understand everything that we've done in our labs, in our research to replicate, and of course, follow this beautiful initiative from the Creative Commons. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ricardo. Yes, that's true. Moving towards open education, that will really help the researchers, scholars, and everybody in science. Thank you so much. And moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Nadia Tahir. Dr. Nadia Tahir, are you there? I would like to introduce you to Dr. Nadia Tahir. She's an inspiration in learning and delegation through her dedication in the education sector. And she is an economist and has just completed her tenure as Managing Director, Quality Assurance Agency, Higher Education Commission, Government of Pakistan. Dr. Nadia, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Amber, for your kind words. I am humbled.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to speak on two aspects. The first is the removing barriers, which is the biggest cost in not only when we speak about an individual, but also for the nations. And the developing economies find it really difficult to have access to the knowledge. And this access to the knowledge is the biggest divide. So my congratulations to Creative Commons and Pakistani chapter for removing these barriers. And I wish them all the luck that this momentum must go on. The second part would be that how the researchers can benefit from Creative Commons. As Subhani Saab speaks on the issue, Gareth and my other counterpart is talking about, that it is a forum available to the researchers where they can not only share their knowledge, but also access the knowledge without any barriers or fewer barriers. So when we talk about the researchers, and Creative Commons is one of the movement, it is more than 40 countries actively participating, and almost all journals have been the part of Creative Commons Forum. So how the researchers can communicate with the scholars more effectively. Most of the time we see the researchers, as Gareth have explained quite effectively, that in the traditional model, it wastes most of years to share your knowledge and to find the appropriate audience. So Creative Commons allowed us to remove these barriers and directly accessing the community who can use your knowledge. So this is something which, say, when we talk about the researchers, it's either publish or perish. So Creative Commons Forum provide us an opportunity to publish with no time waste. So why Pakistani researchers and students especially not effectively submitting, although I have seen a massive increase in submissions to these open access and PLOS forums, but when it comes to submitting a journal, paper for a journal, we see that most of the researchers are conventionally using the conventional route for submitting their outcomes and output to the journals. So there is a need. Subhani Saab is working with a number, you also working with the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. You need to tell them and make them realize that yes, conventional journals and impact factor journals are important, but we must encourage and appreciate our researchers that they should publish their research to something like PLOS One, preprints, Creative Commons forums, and we can get the results quickly. So this how to the question that how we can engage the researchers community in Pakistan to use these forums more effectively is a challenge which you and Subhani Saab both and Creative Commons can help us to overcome. Secondly, the copyright laws and the inhibitions, that how to deal with this copyright problems and laws in Pakistan. So maybe at a bigger forum with the Ministry of Planning Commission and competitiveness, when we talk about competitiveness and we talk about the research outcomes, you need to talk to the copyright laws in Pakistan. So this can be overcome, this can help us in overcoming the inhibitions, that what would be the copyright of an author and the institution, and do we need to have a general or a more standard type of copyright laws like Creative Commons did with the South Africans, or something else. So these two things are there which can help us in publishing our research, removing these barriers and inculcating the access to the knowledge and the lifelong learnings, love for the learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Nadia Tahir. And really, these are some helpful points and concerns that how we can really expand the Creative Commons movement in Pakistan and the local setting and community we have, how we can, inculcate and, have an amalgamation of the copyright and Creative Commons licenses in research and publication. Thank you so much. And moving on to our next speaker, please join me in welcoming our next speaker of the event, Mr. Fawad Mahmood Butt. He is a higher education internationalization expert with 25 years of diversified working experience in academia and in industry. And not only this, but he is a specialist in finance, quality assurance and accreditation, global and corporate partnerships, and teaching, research, and community service. So, Mr. Fawad, I would like to know that why I think that Creative Commons movement is important for open and better sharing in Pakistan, and how can we, improve our educational setup through it?
Fawaz Sahab, you're muted. Fawaz Sahab, you're muted.
Thank you, Amber, and thank you everyone for the opportunity. And it's really an honor being amongst all the August members. This is the reason that why I am here with you and sitting with CC movement chapter in Pakistan, because the creative movement is very important for Pakistan, as it provides a flexible and accessible framework for sharing information and educational resources. It promotes
Based in San Francisco, and he's here to tell us. About his practical bits about Creative Commons, open sharing. And Imran, we would all love to know about the open code software licenses, as it's your domain. And please also introduce yourself a bit. Thank you. We can't hear you, Imran. Imran, you're not audible.
Okay, should work.
Yeah, it's working
Yeah,
now.
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, my AirPods is boring since this morning. No, I was just saying thanks for having me, Dr. Subadi, Embersman, and also as well the Illinois University. Being among all of you folks is a privilege, to be honest. You guys are the backbone of our industry, to be honest, driving us. In terms of my background, yeah, it comes specifically in like technology. I started my company when I was 18. Moving forward, living in San Francisco and being part of these tech community, building products, scaling startups, and then being part of bigger companies around data products and advertising products and so forth. I would love to share my screen and then also tap into more, if that's okay.
Yes, sure. Yeah, sure, you can.
I believe you can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Great. So I think today what I would love to hone on mostly is the fact that the importance of Creative Commons. I've been hearing Creative Commons, I've been part of using it when I started my first company. And when you realize the level of impact something like this could have to a person who wants to build and start their own company, or may that be building a product for good from tech perspective, it's really important to have this kind of structure, this kind of approach to legalizing content technology to help people to grow. And why do I say that? Well, I'm going to focus on 5 things. So, Creative Commons, open source is really, really, really important, right? When you're building products, when I say products, I'm referring to a application that you have on your iPhone, Android. May that be also a famous company such as Google has Chromebook. Chromebook, hence, don't know, many of you may know, or many of our viewers may not, or may know, is actually built on Linux. Linux is an open source software, and that's really important because without that backbone, we would not see so much of our technology, operating systems coming henceforth to a point that advance. And it's the emphasis around making it accessible for other developers, indie developers, individual developers, or corporation as such to collaborate together, right? To build software together and making sure we're not infringing any kind of rights, any kind of legal issues, but making it more accessible for collaboration purposes and also to use as well. Because as many of the countries are not able to afford Windows license version, Mac operating systems, which actually comes with a hefty price of you have to purchasing MacBooks, something like Chromebook or even Linux software, Apache allows you to have free softwares and move forward and building a foundation for your own product or even working, going by your day. So that's one of the things I feel open source platforms is where it's playing a lot of role. Content sharing. Well, when you think of content sharing, you may think of TikTok, Instagram, today's big content sharing, yes, but there are other tools out there such as Squarespace. Just to give you a quick idea what Squarespace is, it enables anyone to go on, build their websites, e-commerce business, and to do so, they have the ability where they're using media content, videos, images, allowing and licensing those to people who want to produce their own website. And they're doing it under the license of Creative Commons and other licenses as well, which allows them to make it free and accessible for individuals and companies who are starting from scratch. So one of the key things where I'm seeing excessively becoming more and more is all of this is becoming more accessible to an individual who would really like to strive and build their business, at least in the case of our industry, right? Like you throw a rock in San Francisco Bay Area, you go to Mountain View Palo Alto Cafe, you're going to see so many college students building their own next big thing or their own Apple software. Okay? Like that's what I come across. And how they're doing it. They're like, oh, we want to put a website up. We want to put this image. They want to make it look fancy. Where do they go? They go to Unsplash, with licenses everything on Creative Commons. They go to Squarespace. They go to Wix. All of them are using images, videos, which are royalty free, which are accessible to use. You cannot modify them, but you can use it. You don't have to pay. Man, that's wonders. Because if you were to go ahead, go to something like Shutterstock or even Adobe Stock Photos and other fancy stock photos or media content, they charge you arm and a leg. You probably go bankrupt more than starting your own company. So that's one. Collaboration innovation. I think this is one of the most I'm more fancied about. GitHub, many of you know that's their logo. GitHub is a platform where, such as my company, where I come from, Take-Two Interactive, which makes games like Grand Theft Auto, or companies like Microsoft or Mozilla or any open source platform, such as, let's talk about something trending, OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? They have a license where they're keeping it closed right now, but they're gonna actually make it more open source, right? Where are they gonna put it? GitHub. Make it accessible for developers to go ahead, share your codes, patch to each other. Let's make and move the technology move faster and like have more precise innovation in that area. Machine learning, you're talking about deep AI learning. That is impossible without such licenses. If you were to go, this actually, let's put it this way, this helps us move forward and avoid any legal battles, but helps us move forward as an industry for greater good, right? And something like OpenAI that I've been reading will be making ChatGPT's source code available in a certain length via GitHub. Of course, that's a go-to for anyone. So collaboration and innovation, this is where we are really, really seeing like, this is like the ground where we always see Creative Commons license coming in. Now, let's talk about access to information. Now, that's also another thing, right? Like, when you go on your internet, you go about your day, where are you accessing it? How are you accessing it? Are you paying for it? You're not paying for it? Where does all of this research goes? Let's put it this way. I've been seeing a lot of you people talking about platforms where there are journals and reviews. There are also many journals out there making research accessible under Creative Commons license as well. But then let's talk about something which is not academic. Let's talk about something more consumer centric, something where everyone and anyone can leverage information and contribute to it. Hello, that's Wikipedia, right? And that's the only tip of the iceberg. There are many platforms out there that allows you to access free information. There are many platforms out there. There's also one, it's a news API company. I'm forgetting their name. Actually, that is actually their name. They have an API where they actually would allow anyone to pay for it, but then they're also planning to make it accessible to Creative Commons license. Again, they don't want you to commission it and make profit, but they're making it free so you can build your products and services. And as you scale, you move to their paid version of it. I think that's amazing, right? Like 10 years ago, none of this was possible, or it was possible, but even in a very, very limited aspect. So I believe like this is one key matter that Creative Commons actually does really also has an impact on. Now, I want to put my last slide on something that I believe I am bullish on and why Creative Commons has a big impact. In the last 7 to 5 years, we're seeing a wave of creators. Creators are such as an individual person who, they're making videos, content for their consumers. There are researchers. They could be anyone, as long as they're creating content for consumption and, delighting their customers. And creator economy has moved search in a vast positioning that someone out there can right now today wants to build I think there's some kind of a noise, I believe.
Yeah, somebody's, it's muted now. Please carry on.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I just want to talk about like this. Now, like with creator economy, if someone wants to start their podcast, they can go about their day, use Creative Commons license, have a nice images on there, put a video under Creative Commons license, a music under Creative Commons license as well, build a diverse content, make it accessible, make it free for the consumers, and have actually a zero startup cost. This is the level of impact Creative Commons has.
It's really amazing. And moving towards our questions now. So we have some questions in the chat box. And the first question is for Dr. Subhani. And it is, does selection of Creative Commons license for research journal is relevant to the aims, scope, and subject domain of the journal? Yes, Dr. Subhani?
Thank you very much. Yes, my camera is actually not working, so I'm extremely sorry. And I lost my
All right.
connection as well. Anyways, so replying to the question raised, actually, yes, the aim and scope matters a lot when deciding the CC licenses. So, for example, if you want to actually share your content in public domain, so there would be a different license. And if you want to share your content in a way that you want to actually share stuffs and content share like, so there is a different license. If it is the non-commercial activity, so it's a different license. It is non-derivatives, a different license. So yes, obviously, the aim and the scope of the journals and the publisher matters a lot when deciding which license to choose and which not. Now, coming on the discipline, I believe discipline also matters sometimes. Yes, for example, media journal, the licenses may be in fact different than the journals in fact operating in the business category. So yes, in my opinion, the aim, scope, and obviously the discipline matters when deciding the licenses. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hope I answered the question.
Yes, I hope, Shafia, you have your answer to the question. And the next question we have is for Dr. Gareth. Thank you, Dr. Subhani. Dr. Gareth, the question is that in the new normal, students are making optimal use of digital media in their work. What steps our movement take to educate our students in making better creative yet legal content for their work?
Wow, I think that's a really interesting question, and thank you for asking it. Maybe I'm not the best person on the panel to answer it, and someone else may want to jump in, but in my opinion, our responsibility is in the legal side of content generation, and I think it's really important as well to be as creative as possible. And there's been a huge amount of discussion recently about ChatGPT, which like Imran mentioned in his talk as well, for example. And in the publishing industry, everybody's freaking out because they think that this is a big challenge, whereas actually I think we should be thinking of these AI tools as opportunities and how they can help researchers and students. Especially, I do a lot of work with people for whom English is not their native language, training and all that kind of good stuff. Like AI tools can help an awful lot with peer review, with writing, and even with image and video creation, of course, but they've got to be legal, as Professor Butt is mentioning in his question. So, I mean, training, explaining to people what they can and can't do, I think is very important, because publishers and journals, preprint platforms do have restrictions on what you can and can't do. I hope that is some way towards answering your question. Maybe somebody else wants to jump in and say something on this topic as well. I don't know.
Yeah, Imran, I guess you can also answer this question.
I would second that Mr. Garrett talked about. I think definitely, like, if you look at it from this perspective, so I'm just gonna speak in for ChatGPT. Like, come on, like that thing can really change the world. Years ago, if we had it, I think I would have been, passing my education with flying colors. But with that being said, it can't really, it has to be embraced, right? You have these licenses. How can we put it into place? Let's put a structure around it. There has to be something that needs to be part of it. And I think Creative Commons must use this wave and use it to its advantage for education purposes. Like imagine, let's play this out, right? So I'll pick Haiti, where there's a lot of challenges economically, right? Now, a student is somehow figures out, tries to get an education. AI tools can be scalable, affordable under Creative Commons license. Man, you're changing life. That person can really strive in their career and probably leave the country to get a higher education and then some, let's be real about it, right? And so I think there's something to be explored there. There has to be some encouragement there. And I like the part that Mr. Garrett also mentioned about the images. Yes, there's a tool out there and you throw a rock, there are many AI generative images, content. What are those licensed on, right? Right now they're watermarked by companies that you have to buy them. I think Creative Commons can really leverage that. There's an open access to OpenAI's DALL-E, DALL-E. You can actually build those softwares. So I think there has to be a approach to it, structure to it, and hopefully we will probably see the next 18 to 24 months.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Imran and Dr. Garrett. That was wonderful. We have another question by Mr. Fawad for Dr. Nadia Tahir. Let's educate our students through Creative Commons movement and conduct student sessions in all universities. Yes, Dr. Nadia.
Fully agreed. What Fawad is saying, we need to do this. Fawad can start from ILMA, and they can benefit from you and Subhani Saab. Because the early benefits are always there. When you teach and train the students in the classes, they must apply these things in their practical life. So one thing is starting from your own university. Secondly, talk to the Higher Education Commission. Subhani Saab can take the lead and can speak with the chairman HEC, and Nahi can start a program and a course for the students, and nothing like that. Fully supported.
Thank you so much. The support is needed in this point of time. And do we have any more questions for our guest speakers? I guess we don't have any more questions, and then I would call it a wrap. We should call it a wrap. I would like to, especially thank you to all the distinguished speakers out here. And they really took the time, like Imran, it's 4 a.m. your time, and Dr. Ricardo, your time is too early. So thank you so much for, sharing your perspectives, joining in and talking about Creative Commons and how, we can proceed further to, expand this movement in Pakistan. And thanks to all the attendees also for making this event successful. We would be having future events. This was the event one, the kickoff one. And we will, stay tuned for further collaborations with the Creative Commons Pakistan chapter. Thank you so much. Dr. Subhani, would you like to say something as a lead?
Thank you very much. It was nice and pleasure meeting you all. Thank you joining from US early morning 3-4 a.m. and also thank you joining from Brazil very early morning. And Nadia Tahir, I'm also thankful to you that you have actually taken up time, in fact, to participate in this event. Garrett, thank you so much, dear friend. And Fawaz, thank you very much. You took our time. So I'm really thankful that all of the speakers here, Imran Sheikh, Dr. Levangi, Dr. Garrett Dyke, Dr. Nadia Tahir, Fawad Bhatt, and Amber as well to you, that you basically, in fact, put a lot of efforts to actually support CC Pakistan chapter. And I'm also thankful to all of the audience they have joined to us to support the CC agendas and CC movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you all.